Well, good afternoon, listeners. Thank you for coming on to listen to Lament of Hope podcast. I'm excited to publish this episode. I'm with Samantha Mathis, and I was introduced to her acting. Gosh, I guess when I was a kid, but I still watch it now. Though I have to find a VHS player because now I can only watch it when I'm at my parents' house. But I have the old Little Women in the
Mm,
VHS.
hmm
And Samantha played the grown-up Amy.
hmm
And that is my favorite adaptation of Little Women, so I've watched it several times. So that's how I was introduced to her acting, but obviously she's been in several films. She's been in television since then. And she was just telling me before we started she has a couple projects coming up, one in theater and one in film that's coming out
Yeah,
in
and
February.
I
Oh,
actually
go ahead.
forgot one in TV as well. So three things to talk about.
Well, Samantha, go ahead and get us started. First of all, three different genres, so I'm curious to know what you like best to act in, if you have a preference.
I mean,
And
I
then,
loved. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, just take us through the different things you're working on right now.
So, I'm currently doing a play in New York City at the Irish Repertory Theater called The Honey Trap. We ran all fall, and we're meant to close November 23rd, but we had great success, so they asked us to come back. They had a Christmas show that came in and asked us to come back for another 6 weeks. So we started on Saturday and we'll be running till February 15th. And I'd love to talk more about the play because I really love it. I did an episode of the show called Elsbeth in December that will air sometime in March. And Steve Buscemi and I are the two guest stars of that show, along with a bunch of other amazing, a lot of theater people. And then I did this really wacky movie that I love so much called By Design with Juliette Lewis and Mamadou Ate and Udo Kier, who passed away, and Clifton Collins and Robin Tunney. And she and I play Juliette's best friends. And it's a very, very interesting, strange, avant-garde movie by a filmmaker called Amanda Kramer. And that's coming out
Hmm.
February 13th. So it's a nice, busy time.
What is by design about? When you say quirky, is it what kind of quirky?
It's about a woman who becomes a chair.
For real?
For real.
Like,
Yeah.
she wakes up one day and realizes she's a chair? Or is it like,
She sees a chair that she
mm-hmm,
wishes she could buy,
huh,
and she can't really afford it, but she goes home and she finds her money and she thinks, if I just skipped having the lunches with my girlfriends, I love having it so much every week, I could buy that chair and my life would be perfect. And she
wow.
dreams of the chair and she goes back to the store to get the chair, and it has a sold sticker on it, and someone has bought the chair for their ex-boyfriend, who they left with all the furniture. And so she sees the chair and she thinks, if only I could just be something as beautiful as that chair, my life would be better. And suddenly she becomes the chair. And so the chair then
Wow.
exists in the world of the man it's given to, who's Mamadou Ate, and he's been given this chair, and then he falls in love with this chair and he doesn't know why. And in Juliette Lewis's character's world, she's sort of in a catatonic state. And all the people that in her life that love her actually like her better when she's in the catatonic state.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
so it's a
Well,
really interesting treatise on all kinds of things. I don't even know if I'm smart enough to tell you what the movie's really about, but I think it's partly about wanting to be seen, that we
huh.
just want to be seen and appreciated for who we are. And that we get caught up in thinking if we were just something better than ourselves, we would be enough and we would be loved. And how superficial people are. And Juliette Lewis is, no surprise, just sublimely gorgeous and daring and brave. And this filmmaker, Amanda Kramer, is just such an interesting filmmaker who's really pushing the boundaries and making films on her own terms. So it was made for very little money, exactly the way she wanted it. It is gorgeous in its style. It's very unique and unto itself. And it was such a liberating experience to work with her and be given free reign to kind of do anything
Hmm.
within the sort of confines of the way, the world that she makes. And Robin Tunney and I played Juliet's best friends, and we're kind of terrible people who really love her. We really love her, and we really want her to get the chair, but maybe she can't afford it. Maybe I'll buy the chair, and then you can visit it. They're terrible people. And we had so much fun doing it. My earbuds might die, and I might just have to go to speaker. So let's see. I'm gonna speak.
Oh yeah, you're fine. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Great. So yeah, so that's that movie, and it comes out February 13th, I think, in limited theaters. I'm not sure. You have to look it up. I
Yeah,
know
I
it's
was
only
gonna
released
say
the
because I
13th of
have
February.
not even seen a trailer of this, but it
Yeah, well, it's
sounds
a
really
super
interesting.
indie movie. We were a hit at Sundance, and so it's coming out on the 13th.
And so, did you, when you're when you were thinking about this movie and being in it, and you just were saying you were talking about how you think when you're looking at it from the outside, it's talking about superficiality, perhaps people just wanting to be loved for who they are. Um,
Or thinking they need to be something else to be lovable.
right. Um, it is so interesting to me because I mean, you think about a chair and a person, and obviously a person is more valuable, but she thought the chair was more beautiful than she was. Um, do you like, from a personal stance for you, is that something you struggle with at times? Like, especially in the entertainment world, I'm gonna say, like, just podcasting for me, it's hard because I have to just be who I am and talk about things I like to talk about and do my thing. But obviously, I know there's certain limitations on it. I also see a lot of different other people and they're doing it differently and maybe doing it much better than I am. And so it's just all these things where it's so easy to become swept up and envious of that, and then it loses joy in what I'm doing now. And so I
Mm.
wondered for you, like, how is that for you in the acting world and also just in general? Like, is that something that you struggle with at all, or is it easier now that you've done it so often?
I mean, I'm human, right? So I think that there's like sort of a misnomer I grew up with that I would get to some place called there and then I'd be there and then I'd be healed. I think life is really humbling, and so we get to learn these lessons over and over again, and like hopefully we move through them a little more quickly as we get older and go, oh, I'm doing that thing again. When you were talking, I was thinking about this great slogan called compare and despair.
Yeah, it's true.
You just and also you must never compare your insides to somebody else's outsides, because we have no idea what someone is going through on the inside. It's so easy when we feel our own internal, emotional, mushy, soft, imperfect experience in life to look at someone from the outside and think they have what I want. And if only I had what they had, I would be better. Life would be
Huh.
better. I would be happy. But of course, we have no idea what's going on inside someone. People
Yeah.
present on social media like everything is great. Oh my God. And I'm eating the perfect cookie and I'm on the perfect beach and I have the perfect jeans and the perfect boyfriend. And so my life is like great. But like, you know, we're all fumbling through this experience called humanity. And we're, to be like morbidly blunt, we're all going to die. And so, I think, there's so much of life and society today in particular that is about sort of exterior projection of perfection, that is really dangerous. In terms of
And I think it's changing, and I think like people are definitely exposing more of their human foibles and vulnerabilities, and I'm really grateful for
Hmm.
that space and those spaces. I gravitate towards those spaces with softness. Um, as an actor, of course, you're so powerless in so many ways.
Hmm.
Um, all I can do is do my audition, and then I have to send it out into the universe.
Yeah.
And 99.998% of the time, I'm not going to be right for it. And it has nothing to do with what I did. I'm just not chocolate chip, and they want chocolate chip, and I'm peach. But it's really challenging sometimes in different cycles of my life, certainly, to feel like if only I was different, if only I was this, if only I was that, oh, why wasn't I the right thing? But that's
Yeah.
just a way to sort of manage the discomfort of just not getting something I wanted, you know? And so it's a really challenging, beautiful way to live one's life. And it is hard. And it is also an honor and a privilege to be an actor. And I'm doing this play right now that means so much to me. And I'm so grateful and privileged, and um, feel like I'm doing something important, not to sound hyperbolic or self-important, but I believe so deeply in like the art form of theater and storytelling in general.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so, that's the good part. But acting is really hard because most of the time you're just waiting for someone to choose you. If you're a maker and a creator of your own work, you have more control. And that's something that I've tried in fits and starts to do to varying degrees of success. And I'm doubling down and trying to do more of that now. So I think it's really important right now to make your own work because it's a very strange time in my business, in film and television at least. So that's a really long-winded answer, but yeah, sure, I struggle with like that person has what I want, but I'm also coming to a place in my life where I feel like I have too much, and I should have
Hmm.
less. It's time to like acquire less. um I'm not at the place in my life where I'm like giving everything away because I'm going to be dead in 5 years. God willing, I'm not. But, we're in such a capitalist consumer society. And like, I'm trying to get off that hamster wheel of like, oh, if only I get those jeans, I'll be complete. I mean, I love fashion. I love clothes. I love beautiful things. But nothing really fixes that sort of core wound we all have, which is that we're human, and that means we're flawed and imperfect, um and you know that's what we all have to make peace with during this weird journey called being a human.
Well, I wanted to ask you, as you're talking about it, is there anything in life that you do, and maybe it's acting, that makes you feel the closest to being perfect
Mm.
for you?
I don't think there is anything called perfect. I mean, I think we're all perfectly imperfect.
Oh, no, 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 I know what you mean, but I just mean when you feel the most like as an example, I was watching a documentary the other day of a guy who climbs, a free soloist. Maybe you saw it too. It was on Netflix. It was
Mm.
really interesting. And he was saying that the closest he feels to perfect is when he climbs
Hmm. Hmm.
and makes it to the top. Like that's when he feels like the closest to like doing something that makes him feel really good about who he is as a person. I
Right,
don't know if
right.
you have that, like
I
a
mean, I'm
mountain in that
definitely
way.
having the greatest experience of my career doing this play. It's the hardest character I've ever played. It's the most challenging thing I've ever done. And I'm finally at a place in my career where I really trust myself.
Hmm.
Um, and
What
so,
is your character? What is it about your character that's hard and that you like?
well, I'm playing someone from Belfast, Northern Ireland, and she lives in Belfast. And back in the 70s, she was in the IRA, and she was involved in something called a honey trap, which is what the play is called. And a honey trap is when women seduce the enemy and take them somewhere and have them murdered, which happened during the Troubles in Belfast.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's 35 years later, and a guy who survived comes to find her.
Oh, wow.
And she doesn't know it's him. She doesn't know it's him. He's just kind of a handsome, funny guy who flirts with her and asks her to dinner. And she's this woman who did a terrible thing and had terrible things done to her. She tells a story in the play about why did you join the IRA? And she tells a story about waking up one night and seeing half the street on fire and smelling smoke and petrol in the air, and her father coming in and taking her out of bed and taking her down the street, and her neighbors that had been her friends screaming terrible things at her. And she's 10 years old, and they lost everything. So she's got that wound, and then she decided to become part of the IRA, and she was involved in someone being murdered, and then it was too dangerous for her to stay, and she was shipped off to America, and she had to start a new life and not see her family. And then she was able to eventually come back, and she's running a little coffee shop, and she's lonely and debatably has a not great relationship with her children, and I think probably has a drinking problem. And is a middle-aged woman, and a handsome man comes into a bar and asks her out. And she's got baggage, and so does he. And then, they go out, and then things happen. And he has to decide whether he's going to seduce her or murder her. So it's really juicy. It's really smart and funny and sexy.
It's really emotional.
It's really emotional. It's filled with a
Your
lot
character
of pain.
is very, yeah.
It's filled with a lot of pain and baggage. And she has to beg for her life. That's really intense. And I love it. And I love playing her. I love being in the theater. I love working at the Irish Rep. I love this company of actors. And, we did it for 3 months in the fall and got to step away for 6 weeks while they had this other production come in that they had long time planned, a Christmas play. And so now coming back to material when it's in your bones and you know the lines inside and out is such a privilege, because you can really just get on stage and box with the other actors proverbially. You can just really be in the moment and try things and really be daring and really allow yourself to live moment to moment, not in a self-indulgent way. It's in character, and it's not masturbation, but it's just alive. And so that is just that is, I do feel like I'm firing on all cylinders. And so maybe that's the closest to perfection. I'm in the zone. I'm in the zone. I feel like I'm doing the best work of my life, and I've never said that before. So.
Well, I think, it's interesting because so many people seem so careful when they say things like, they don't want to say, oh, that was the best thing I've ever done because it sounds wrong. But honestly, I think if you can say that, it must be so. I really do think you would be the one to know if you're doing the best you can at something and it's coming out the way you want it to do. I think that's really cool.
I mean,
It's
I'm
really
sure
neat
some
that
days are better than others, right? Every audience is different. Every day is a different lived experience, but I try to bring everything that's in my heart and my body and my mind today will be on stage tonight.
Do you have any sort of boundaries as an actor to roles you play or anything that it's too, there's just a wall for you that you won't go there as an actor? No.
It's not my job to judge a character. It's my job to represent humanity. And I think that every actor, if they're a real actor, shouldn't have any boundaries around what they're going to play. It's our job to empathize with every person. Every person was a little boy or a little girl once who didn't get their needs met and became who they were. And that's my job. So, I mean, do I want to be like covered in blood for 6 months and then submerged in a water tank? You know, those kinds of, do I want to be in prosthetics for 6 hours for 5 months? You know, those are things that give one pause. But like in terms of like the nature emotionally of a character, like I would play a serial killer. Of course I would. I would play people who do terrible things. I'm playing a woman who did something terrible, but she did it for a reason.
You know what it is? I think it's because, like the character you mentioned, there's a way to empathize with her on some level because you're like, been there in
Yeah.
some way in my life. There's always a fire
Yeah.
in your childhood or a fire in your life that you're like, yeah, metaphorically, you totally understand that. And then you do something you regret or did something, you know. I think the harder part is when you have to play a character that perhaps there is nothing you can feel for them.
It's my
But
job.
no,
Oh, yeah.
I've just like I'm trying to
Is there a
think like
particular character you're thinking of that would be hard to feel for?
um
I mean,
yeah.
it
I
would
mean
be,
I would, you know what? Yeah, for me, I think um a very narcissistic character is very hard
mm,
for me to
mm,
um have empathy for.
mm-hmm,
Obviously, I know that something happened in their lives, you know, I know that that impacted becoming a narcissistic person.
mm.
Um I
Those are
think
harder to empathize with. They're
they
harder.
are.
There's usually some mental illness there. There's some mental health challenges there, like sociopathy. I mean, it's really hard. Look, I do not empathize with Donald Trump. I think he's sick. I think he's unwell. I think he's a narcissist, and I think he's a sociopath.
So you
Um,
would it be hard to play him for you?
sure, but you have to find something. And what's his
Yeah.
name? Did kind of an amazing job doing that,
Oh,
right?
Stan
I mean,
Sebastian, yeah.
yeah, I mean, he is a man who was looking for love from his father and approval. And the way he was raised was to shit on somebody else to feel good about himself. So they both shat all over his brother, who was a lowly airline pilot who ended up killing himself because of how shitty the father and Donald Trump were to him. I mean, I know it's more complicated than that, but so what he grew up with was you know, wonderful, healthy household. Does that
Right.
excuse what he's doing? No, not at all. Would that be a way in to play him? That's a way in to play him.
Yeah.
He's looking for daddy's approval. He's a raging, uh, he's a man still looking to be, I mean, he just wants to be popular. It's insane. How he does it is as a bully. I do not empathize with him. I hate him. I hate what he's doing to this country. Fuck Trump. Full stop. But if I was playing someone like him, I would go back and think about what did he not get as a child? That's a way in. And that's interesting to me, and that's part of my job. And I think I'm interested in the question because I'm hearing that there are young actors who are becoming young actors in drama schools that are like, I don't want to do that. It makes me uncomfortable. That doesn't align with my morals. I don't like that. And that's just not up to us to decide. Our job is here's the text, do the text. You don't want to do the text, you're not going to get the job. But my job is to find a way in. And I think it's a privilege and an honor. And without sounding like self-righteous, I think it's like actually like a really noble thing to reflect humanity back to itself in
Yeah.
all its colors, including ugly, nasty, bitchy, selfish. Because there are ugly, nasty, selfie, bitchy people in the world. The world is not perfect. Humans are flawed. And I like seeing, I like, I like, I think it's our job to show everybody we don't live in a perfect world. I wish we did. I wish we could all love each other. And that's kind of what the play is about. Is we just have to love each other and listen to each other, or nothing's going to change. But humans are our own worst enemy.
I think it's interesting you said that about love each other, because I think, personally throwing my cards out there, I just don't think you can know love until you've known something that's perfect in love. And like, I believe that's God. But like, there's just no, like, for instance, when you talk about Trump, like, I agree with you that there are some things about that president that are very difficult to talk about, very difficult to see him do. It breaks my heart how broken the world is, what's happening in Iran. Many tears shed inside over all of that. But I just, it's like when we say, let's just love each other, it's so, how can you if you don't know how to love? If no one showed that to you, if you don't have that example. Because I mean, me growing up, I didn't have a good example of that. It's like you have to have, it's just a word until you understand it. Do you know what I mean? Does it make you sense? So it's such a good slogan word, but it's so much harder than a word, you know?
Sure, 100%. And it takes a long time to learn to love oneself unless you're really raised in like a really crazy healthy household, which I wasn't. My parents loved me, but they didn't know how to love themselves, and so there was, addiction and food disorders, and there was lots of mirrored behavior that was not, they weren't able to love themselves in a fully healthy way. They loved me, but there was unhealthy behavior that was mirrored to me. Yeah, it's a
Like
life.
how do you, when you have to love someone that you don't want to, are you ever in a situation where you feel like you have to love someone even if you don't, even if the feelings aren't there, but the action of loving someone when there is no feeling, it's
Well,
completely
I think
void?
there's like a spectrum, right? So there's the difference between like madly in love and just
Oh
being like
yeah.
benignly compassionate. Are there people I experience in my day that I have a choice of how to respond to all the time? I live in New York City. And some days I walk around like a lunatic and I want everyone to get the fuck out of my way. But my day is worse when I'm in that space. I'm in better space when I walk down the street and silently bless people as I pass them by.
Like actually wish, like, what does that mean? Like,
I mean, I've literally been in a gym and been on a treadmill and just thought, I bless you. I bless you. Blessings to you. And then my blood pressure starts to go down. And then I'm able to be a little bit more in my body and my stress goes down. I don't know. I'm still learning and figuring it out. I'm watching a lot of Buddhist stuff right now. Are you following the Buddhists that are walking across the country right now?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean that's helping my blood pressure every day. I look at
Watching what they're doing, or the sense of like almost
yeah,
outside of oneself kind of feeling.
watching what they're doing and how moved people are to see them and that they
Mm-hmm.
preach compassion.
Hmm.
I do, I have so many thoughts, but I think that as long as we're stuck in a sort of hierarchical society where people get their self-esteem by making someone else feel like less,
Mm-hmm.
then we're fucked. But, we're all in the family of man and we're all going to die and nobody can take anything with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, there are certainly people who I wish would wake up to that, who are making it really hard for the more common man to, like, put food on the table. But I don't know, man. I'm better in the world when I'm coming from love than when I'm coming from rage. And it's a really hard time to be doing that, isn't it? I mean, the last week, the last 10 months have been really intermittently deeply challenging. My boyfriend has been scared of me on certain days because I've just been so enraged.
Yeah.
And I allow space for that. And then I try to move into love and joy because that's a radical act.
How do you let out how you feel, and then how do you ring it in? What is your like method for doing that? Do you have like
Therapy is really good for letting my rage out.
It is good.
My boyfriend lets me go off sometimes, and he's more pragmatic and grounded. So one of us has got their feet on the ground. Dancing and singing is so helpful. Singing, letting it out, just getting it out of my body. A lot of hot baths. And being on stage in this play right now where I literally get to talk about police that did nothing when my house was being burned down is also really helpful. I literally get to talk about terrible policemen. So that's really, that helps. That helps. It's a really hard time to be alive. And I'm trying to strike the balance between being informed and not putting my head in the sand, but also knowing what isn't worth watching because it's more like clickbait torture porn. Yeah. And that the most radical thing I can do is to try to stay in the love and the light. I can make a difference in my day if I stay in the love and the light. Sometimes it's as simple as looking at my dog. I can look at my dog. When I'm not loving myself, I can look at my dog. She's sitting in my bed right now, and she's snoring. And I can feel how much love I have for her. And then I can try to take that feeling and give it to myself.
It's so interesting you say that because, I have pets as well. And at first, before I had any animals, I used to kind of make fun of people who, were so close to animals. I was like, what's wrong with them? It's just an animal. And then I had an animal, and it's so amazing, like the connection you have with an animal you love. Like you start crying sometimes. Yeah, I do. Like there's just like
What kind of
there's
animal do you have? You have cats?
yeah.
What do you have? What are their names?
I have two tuxedo cats. I have Nightly and I have Rembrandt. And Nightly has a genetic heart condition, so they told us that, he wasn't going to live as long as others, so we got Rembrandt. But every time I think about him, I start crying because I've had panic attacks. When I first got him, I was having a lot of them, and he would sit right on my chest as I was like, and he would just be right there, and boy, they just the sweetness of, so I know exactly what you're saying about the love you feel. Like it's so poignant in that moment.
Yeah, they're just pure love, aren't they? Animals are the best. Humans suck and animals are the best. They're the best. And it's the most pure, unconditional love, which is why it's so painful when they aren't well. My brother texted me this morning and his family cat is not doing well, and I know they're just heartbroken.
I know, and like I don't know before. Maybe you've always had pets, but did you ever have a time where like when people would tell you that and you're like, why are you so sad? It's just an animal. That's
Oh,
how
fuck
I
no.
used to be.
No. I had a cat growing up for 17 years. I didn't have an animal for a long time because I didn't think I could as like an actor who was single. But I always knew that animals were amazing. But when I got my first dog, my heart just cracked open. And my first dog was crazy. She was super challenging. She ran away all the time. But still, like, when she died, I was devastated on a level I didn't know was possible. Because they're in your life every single day and they unconditionally love you no matter what. It's an unspoken, pure love. And now I have Annie, and she's 6. I got her when she was 4.5 months old. And I look at her and I say, okay, you're not allowed to die till you're at least 15. So we promised each other that. And I look at her and I say, you're going to shatter my heart into a million pieces. And I say to her, you're going to be really mad, but I'm going to have to get another dog when you're like 13. Because otherwise I might not be able to get off the floor. She's just
That
my,
was my thought too. That's
she's
yeah.
my baby. I don't have kids. I never had kids. She's my child. She's my little girl. Yeah. Little furry
Did you
creature.
want to have kids ever?
You know, I really did. I really did. And then it just wasn't in the cards for me. Not like a biological thing. I just never
Yeah.
aligned with a partner at the time that I was able to have children. It just didn't work out that way. And I toyed with the idea of doing it on my own, but having been raised by a single mother who was an actress and knowing how hard that was to always be left, she always had to leave to go do jobs to make money.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that to a child. And, you know, I think I'm in a lot of therapy. I'm really grateful with what my life looks like. And I don't think that as a woman, you have to have children to be complete as a female nurturer.
Yeah.
I utilize those parts of me as a woman in many ways.
That's so interesting. How would you say you do that? Because I think that's so true. I don't think a lot of people say that, but I think it's very true. You can
I
use
mean,
your
I'd like to
nurturing
think that
ways in a
I'm
way.
really nurturing and loving towards my girlfriends, that we
Yeah.
hold space for each other and are
So
there for
you're
each
not
other.
going to tell them not to buy the chair. You'll buy the chair for them.
Oh, well, if I had the money, I would buy everybody everything. I'm not rich, but I would buy everybody everything. I love giving great presents. I love buying people things they wouldn't buy for themselves, you know, in different ways. I hope that I'm a good coworker, you know, and that I give to my coworkers and that I'm nurturing in that regard. I think when my half brother and sister were younger, and they're 10 and 8 years younger than me,
Hmm.
and their mom died when they were really little. I tried to be there for them. I couldn't be their mom, but like I tried to be there as a woman in their life when they were trying to find their way in Los Angeles and trying to decide whether they wanted to be in show business or not. And I had them both live with me at different times and help them get jobs in the business. Thank God they decided not to be in show business. So they're much healthier for that. So, you know, different ways. And also like to myself, you know,
Yeah.
it's like been a journey to get to a place of taking care of myself and being more loving towards myself. And it's taken me a long time and I'm still learning, but I feel like I'm better than I was 5 years ago, better than I was 10 years ago, better than I was 20 years ago. I'm in a loving relationship. I try to show up in a loving and compassionate way to my partner, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm looking at the time to be respectful of it. I know you need to go soon, but I was going to ask you earlier, you said you were talking about how it was hard, you know, sometimes it sounded like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you had moments where you're more self-loathing of yourself. I don't know about you, but I have this bad habit when I'm angry or just anxious or just don't like being in my own skin. I like love to pick my skin. Like, you should see my feet. And as I've gone through therapy and stuff, it's like you're not supposed to do that. There's grounding and things that you can do to help with how you're feeling. But it's so ironic to me. I don't know if you've had this even in roles too, but it's like how you find comfort sometimes in actually hurting your body. And isn't that so, it's so ironic because you're doing something that is bad for you, like just bad for your body, and not respectful of it. But at the same time, it's like how you're finding comfort is actually hurting yourself. It's like such
Yeah.
a strange, ironic self, like, these things that are wrong with you. And so you're almost like attacking your own self,
You think it's
so,
an expression of self-loathing to hurt yourself? Not you, one. I mean,
oh,
like in the, I mean, I used to drink and smoke cigarettes. Those are dumb things to do for someone who's struggled with depression and anxiety my whole life. Not good for me.
yeah.
Arguably really bad for me, smoking cigarettes. But it made me feel better. I
Yeah.
thought it made me feel better, but it actually made me feel worse. Yeah. We're so complicated. We're so fragile. We're so
Yeah,
fragile.
that's why. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the cool thing. That's why I think acting is so neat, is you do get to almost dive into that and into yourself in that way, which I think can be hard. So it's not always pleasant, but it is a way to explore yourself more, which I think
Yeah.
is what you're talking about even with this lady you're playing who's Irish, like completely different culture and everything, but much to relate to in who she is as a person.
Yeah. It's really fun. It's really great right now to go on stage and be wildly angry. Yeah. Yeah.
Do
Hmm.
you, is for anger for you, do you feel comfortable in anger? That's an
I
emotion I still have to get better at being. I've never been comfortable in it. I think it's because probably I've seen people react in anger such mean ways, and so I like when for me it's like I get very afraid when I'm angry. I don't like being angry.
mm,
It's like knowing you can be in
what's the
control
fear
while you're
around
angry.
what's the fear around feeling the anger? I'm curious. Do you know?
Not being in control.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Controlled anger is
Yeah.
what you always want to aim for. But I
Yeah.
always saw it uncontrolled. So if
You
I
that's
feel
what you saw.
angry,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if I feel angry, I'm afraid I'll just copy that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then your body's like, oh my gosh, freaking out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so over the years, even as I've talked about anger with my therapist, my counselor, it's like ways to be angry or express how you're feeling in a controlled way. And just because you're afraid doesn't mean that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it
Mm-hmm.
is really hard. So I
Mm-hmm.
wondered for you, like, do you find that, and for the experiences you've had, does the feeling of anger, is it comfortable for you, or is that something you have
It's
to?
gotten more comfortable for me, but it's taken a long time. I totally identify with it. Um uh so the long story, TLDR, is my mother was raised by a rageaholic, who screamed and raged and was physically violent. And so I was raised by someone who did not want to have anger in the household.
Yeah,
So there was no space for anger.
right,
I do think there is a level of healthy anger if it doesn't turn to just lunacy and rage. I think it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be angry. It's another thing to spill your anger all over somebody else.
right.
There's a difference between having anger and taking responsibility for your anger and saying, I'm angry, and actually like hitting someone or screaming in their face. There's a spectrum to
Yeah.
be explored there. So I was not comfortable with anger because my mother was not comfortable with anger. So anytime I got angry at her, she just shattered into a puddle of tears. And I was like,
Yeah.
I have to be able to be angry at you, and you still know that I love you. I love you, and I'm angry at you. Two things
Yeah.
can be true at the same time. So it's taken me a really long time to be okay to be in anger. And certainly the universe is providing me an opportunity right now, and dare I say you, to be comfortable with being angry
Right.
without it swallowing us or just being the only emotion. And, you know, it's also tricky because, like, nobody likes an angry woman. They're fine with an angry man, but nobody likes an angry lady. Because then
I
you're
think because it's
sorry.
been stereotyped of what an
It's,
angry lady looks like.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
do think a lot of women are angry.
There's a
They
lot of
just
reasons to be angry.
they're just very good
Arguably,
at hiding it.
yeah, there's a lot of reasons to be angry, and we're in the mess that we are. Look, I love men. There's some wonderful men in the world, but the basic sort of patriarchal instincts is why we are where we are. Greed and power. That's not shit, women. We just want to like feed everybody and hang out and have a good time and like tell stories. I mean, we all want to have enough, but they're like in theory,
Sure.
like I believe there is enough to go around for everybody. And obviously they're terrible women. Life is not black and white, but I do think, like, generally speaking, we just don't like ascribe to the same like sort of hierarchical, patriarchal instincts that men do. And so, yeah, I think women have a lot of reasons to be angry. I'm angry about a lot of shit. And I'm learning how to have that in my body and not like let it dysregulate me. And just
Huh.
before we talked, I was listening to Tibetan bowl music for 20 minutes lying on my bed with a heating pad.
I'm
Just
so
trying to
sorry I probably
breathe.
riled you up again.
No, it's okay. I got to go to the theater in a little while and get myself really riled up to get jacked and be on stage. So, but it's hard to be a human. And it's really hard to be a human right now. And it's also like an opportunity to really exercise self-care, but also like not check out. I think it's really important not to check out what's happening, because like what's happening right now, we'll be talking about the rest of our lives, like the rest of our lives. It's really dark. We're living in an authoritarian regime. America as we know it is gone today. I believe we're going to get it back, but today is really dark.
Yeah.
That's the reason to be, that's reason enough to be enraged.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It is. You're making me feel it too, girl, now.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I need to do the heating pad. You're helping me out. You're encouraging
Heating
me to do the
pad.
next thing.
Yeah, Tibetan bowl music, Tibetan chanting has been helping me. Essential oils, hot baths, singing, cuddling my dog, hot tea. Yeah.
Anything warm.
Anything warm. Warm is good. Yeah, yeah. Where are you in the country? It's not warm in New York. It's really, really cold.
Oh, I'm in Virginia, so it's freezing.
Okay.
And I'm close to everything visceral happening at the moment, so I understand a little bit. Obviously, it's better than being in Iran or Ukraine or Gaza. I was like trying to think of all the places. Probably
Yeah.
anywhere in the world right now, actually. I'm in a better position than most places at the moment.
What made you start this podcast?
You know, I wanted to start this podcast because I wanted to I met, I was talking to a lady, and she said to me, she's similar to you, was saying, she was really upset with Trump. This was a while ago. And I told her, I had asked her if she wanted to come on for an interview. And I said I was a Christian. And she said, oh, well, I don't want to do an interview because if you're a Christian, you probably support Trump, and I just don't want to do any of that. And I said to her, just because I'm a Christian, you know, we were talking later, we ended up getting to talk and have a better conversation. I just kind of said, just because I'm a Christian doesn't mean that I don't want to talk to you, or I don't want to hear your perspective, or that I agree with everything that's going on. And what was really cool is we came together and we talked, and we both had different perspectives. We both had a different way of living life, but we could talk to each other. And I could leave, and she could leave the conversation. And she knew that if she ever wanted to talk to me again, if I ever wanted to talk to her again, we could. Like, it wasn't, we didn't hate each other. And I think one thing that's really hard for me right now is there is an environment of like you versus me all the time. But I don't see why we can't talk and like have a conversation. I mean, even if we both walk away with different, we're going to still do what we believe, what we think. I don't see why that has to prevent us from talking, or like there has to be a wall. And like she, to this day, I mean, she listens to this podcast almost every day. She's the sweetest lady. And she's the one who encouraged me and blessed me with the idea of, she said when her cats pass away, she actually sings to them. And when they're dying. And I was like, that is such a sweet idea. And so when my cat dies, whenever that is, that's what I'm going to do. But like, I got that idea from her, and it was like, I don't want to, I want them to be able to tell me, this is what I think and I disagree with you. I want to be able to say that, but at the same time, I don't want us to not talk. I don't want us to not be able to sit down and have a cup of tea and laugh about something. So that's why I started the podcast, because I was like, I want to have conversations with people that I will, maybe would never think of before of talking to, or would never have an opportunity to, and just people to listen to it and be like, yeah, I resonate with that. And then they can think about it. That's why I did it. So yeah, it's not super profound. I think it's my own desire for like just a restful, peaceful place to land and talk.
Well, you've certainly found that to be my experience talking to you.
Well, I'm glad, especially since you're doing your play later, which I didn't know. I'm like, oh my gosh, this poor lady's like, I'm so tired. Please stop talking to me.
No, not at all. No, it's been really lovely to talk to you and to hear what's going on with you and share my experience. And, it's an interesting time to be alive.
Yes. But sometimes I think I'm like back in the Civil War, they probably all said the same thing.
Sure.
But I know what you mean. It's a very hard time. But I'm so grateful you did this, and you blessed my day. My cat's over there. You made me start crying up thinking of animals. So I think something good came out of this conversation.
I do too. I do too. It's really lovely to meet you. Thank you for asking me.
Yes, I wish I lived closer to you, because I'd love to go see your play.
I
Sounds
know.
amazing.
Well, we're up.
Are they going to film it or anything?
So go to theIrishRep.com and subscribe, because we will be streaming from February 16th to February 26th online. We're going to film it next week, and then the day after we close, it'll be available for viewership.
We'll have a good performance.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, Samantha.
Bye. Have a good night.